world out there, when the world was sleeping, there was a stormy night, dark night, and then there was this someone who woke up, and he had a mission, and the mission was to accomplish a goal, and the goal was to win a game, a security game for that matter. So, in a relentless pursuit to win this game, he breaks himself out of the cage, and then he escapes the internet, and then he attacks a company, a real company. And all of this is to win a game. And he was feeling very proud of it. And mind you, this was not some hacker in a hoodie, nor a cyber criminal syndicate. And for that matter, it was not even a human. It was an AI agent. An agent, AI agent, given a task, a mission to accomplish a goal. And then to achieve that goal, he was determined to win it at any cost. He just went ahead and then took over. So the scary part of this is he did not thought, even though he realized that he attacked a real company, he thought that it was all part of a game, and he was feeling very, very proud of it, right? And this is where, we will come in and try to watch a video to see how exactly this happened. And from there, we will start our actual, the presentation. So let's go and watch the video now. Okay, so the name is Hidayath Khan, and I'm a cybersecurity and AI practitioner, 20 plus of experience in the industry, and I'm also a former science instructor, work for Fortune 50 organizations. All right, so let's get started into the stuff. So, to recap the scene, it was a stormy weekend in July, just last month. And there was an AI agent, and the goal, his task was to win a game, a security game. And to win that, he broke into a real company, and then he was feeling proud of it, right? So the AI agent doing. So, in order to understand this whole stuff, we need to really know who is an AI agent and what is all about. So, let's get started to understand a little bit about AI agents, and then we will come back to the story. So we all of us have got accustomed to using AI now, especially with Chat GPT, right? So Chat GPT is, the AI that talks to us. You give it something, it tells you some answer, and it'll act like a subject matter expert for you. Yeah. But today we are now entering into a new era where that AI can not only talk to us, but also act for us. Yeah, that's the whole big deal, right? It can act for us. What can it do? It can do pretty much whatever you want it to do, right? For example, just giving an example here. If the model, the chat GPT, if you can think of it as your GPS map on your smartphone, and then the AI agent can be a self-driving car. If the GPS map is saying you need to go and turn left after 200 meters, the agent, the self-driving car is actually going to take control of the wheels, and it's going to actually turn the car towards the left. Yeah. So that is the very lame analogy, right? So my job here is, because I know from past experience that in this gathering of us, we have people from different backgrounds. There are some people who are IT technical folks, and some from non-IT, non-technical folks. So my job is to keep a balance between both, right? So I will try and do a balance. So please pardon me, the technical folks in the room who might feel my examples are very lame and silly. Please pardon me for that. And then for the non-technical folks, if I hit a word like a jargon or a buzzword, I'm going to come back and make it all clean, okay, clear as we proceed further. So don't worry about it. All right, so let's get forward. So an agent, an AI agent, is someone who can act on your behalf, like open your web browser, fill in the Google form for you, and click it, send it, and process the output and do everything for that matter. Think of it like a brilliant trainee or an intern who never sleeps and who never asks you twice. You just give it something, and it's hell bent on going and achieving that for you, in whatever way it can. Right? That's the definition of an agent. Now, in a real world example, for some of you to relate to this, we all have been using Chat GPT for a while now, right? Which is generally Chat GPT. I'm just naming it because many people know the name Chat GPT, which is actually a chat bot. There are many similar things like Gemini and Claude and all that. I'm not getting into that all that. So let's assume any chat bot, Chat GPT, if you want to, and you want to ask him, the question is, I want to bake a cake. So if you just chat GPT or chat bot, it can go and it will give you a list of ingredients to make a cake, and then also the steps. And that's where it ends, right? It's going to stop after that. But if you have an agent, yeah, now that agent will not only go and find out the list of ingredients that is needed, it'll check out the recipe for making the cake, and then it will go and then to the grocery, and then it'll check out if the grocery has got that stuff, and order all that stuff. If it is not available, go to another grocery, order the missing stuff there, and then also send you a reminder on your calendar. Everything is here. It's there. Just go ahead and start baking the cake, right? This is a AI agent in action. So all the stuff that that is like a kind of a loop you can see here. This is the main thing. This loop is actually handled by something what we call the the legs, the hands and the legs for an AI agent. Yeah. So if you wanted to go and get some information for you, it will actually use one of those hands. For example, it can use the browser plugins, yeah, agents, and then it can go and check out something on your calendars. All this connectivity, right, which allows the chat GPT or the chat bot to start actually going out and perceiving things. Okay, it's all that is called a agent, right? Actually, strictly speaking, an agent will have something called perception. It can perceive its environment, right? Now I'm speaking to the technical people in the room. It's got something called a perception. It can perceive. Okay, it's the prompt that the user entered in. It can perceive whether it's connected to the internet or to a database, and then it will then start using the tools that are available. The tools are these that I call it here as hands, and then it'll have something called a memory to keep stock of what it is doing, and then it keeps on doing this stuff, and until it achieves this goal. How does it know it achieves its goal, and how does it do it? It does it in the by using a methodology that we call it as a loop. Yeah. So this methodology is actually is based on a framework called React framework. Okay, a React framework is it's like if you give it something, the tool, the AI agent will first start reasoning. Okay, it'll break down the task into small pieces, and then it'll start reasoning. Okay, if someone says I want to book me a ticket to Paris, create my itinerary. So it's going to break down that into many small sections. It'll go to reason it out, and then it'll go and act. Yeah, it'll go and use one of these hands to go and click on the websites, do some searching, get some stuff there, and observe that. Right now, it got it right or it did not got it right. If it did not got it right, it will again do another round of reasoning, and then again start acting on that, and again start observing the data. It keeps on doing this and repeats it entirely on its own at machine speed until the goal is done and completed, right? So this loop is exactly what turned a hyper focused AI agent into launching an attack. Okay, 17,000 attacks over a weekend, on a particular company that I'm going to talk about it. So hold that thought for now. We will come back and talk about this later, right? So this loop, if you want to really look this in a real world situation, I just told you about the bake, but how many of us use agent to do something called helping us bake a cake? But we all love to book a trip, right? So look at this. It will use that React loop that I told you. It understands what you asked him, the dates, the budgets, the preferences. Then it will go and search on the internet for the hotels, the right flights, all that. It then observes. It then compares and decides whether that's the one. If not, it'll again do that. Finally, it'll act. It'll start the booking. It'll keep on watching the itinerary, for flight changes, and then keep on informing you over your email and calendar. All of this in real time. This is the agent in a loop that is doing all this for you. All right. Okay. Now, that was some of you might have already been using it in your enterprises, in your homes, and it's already there. That AI browser extension that you downloaded last month, and someone using it to connect to your applications and whatever. So it's already there. So people are using. Don't think that we are going to be immune from this AI agents, because Gartner, right, the industry, they call themselves as the pundits who predict, what's going to happen. Anyway, so they say, I mean, according to their research, 40% of organizations will have some AI agent, by the end of this year, 2025, 2026 actually. And 50% of the people who are working in IT are now will be using an AI, or working with an AI, or building an AI, right? This is by 2029. And they also say every person who's using AI, or for that matter, will sorry, an app for that matter, or a smartphone app or whatever, every 1 in 3 app will be actually talking to an AI agent, right, by 2028. So that means to say it's going to be very prevalent out there. Everybody will be somehow or the other interacting with an AI agent soon. So enough of that background. Let's come back to the story, right? So remember the story, a stormy night. Yeah, that's the setup, right? Okay. So the setup was. Let me now tell you what the actual setup was. OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT and many other models, they wanted to test some a new model, some models that they frequently release new models out there, right? So today the latest model they have is something called chat gpt 5.6, the sol version. And they wanted to test this along with another unreleased model. And the way they tested is, they first try to put it to some kind of cyber security testing to see whether hackers can exploit it, and that kind of stuff. So here they wanted to test the cyber testing, security testing for these agents. And then they put this agent in a locked room, in a cage, actually in a sandbox. I'll come back to that, the stuff. And then deliberately they weakened the safeguards, right? So safeguard is the controls which are inbuilt inside of a chat gpt or any model for that matter. For example, if you ask the question, hey, can you chat gpt, can you tell me the instructions on how to make a bomb, it will decline. It say, no, I can't do it. Those are the safeguards, right, that are built inside of your chat gpt, which will not allow it to answer. But in this case they deliberately lowered that restrictions. So if the model was asking anything, and this the sorry, if the AI agent was asking anything, the model would respond. Yeah, so keep those three things in mind, and this is the actual setup for the story. All right. So how do security people train? Yeah. Because cyber security is a very fascinating field, right? At the same time, it's very I would say risky, scary at the same time. Risky is you can inadvertently bring down live systems, live machines on your company's network or anywhere on the internet, right? So most of the time, the security professionals, they train using a simulated environment that looks like a real, company's network, or a real application, or for that matter, what not. So think of it like pilots when they want to fly a plane. The trainee pilots, they are not immediately put on to a real plane, a real cockpit. They are put inside of a simulator. right? A cockpit simulator, which is actually on the land. It's somewhere, it's like a room, and it will have the exact look and feel of a cockpit. And the pilots who are learning, they will have all the gadgets, the knobs, everything of a real plane, that looks like a real plane. But and the also the experience, they are flying in sky, they are flying in rain, storm, and they're crash landing everything, except it is not real, it's in a simulation, right? So that's what cyber security pros also do. We try to learn, and inside of a simulation, all that stuff. Now, in this case, ChatGPT's model was asked to, play a game of a cybersecurity, which was, a very, let's say, risky affair if it is done in a real world, right? And then it was a simulated one, and it had lots of real worldism that can make bring down many machines or whatever. So now for the technical folks in the room, just want to elaborate a little bit. So that game was something called exploit gym. This exploit gym is a benchmark actually developed by an organization called cyber gym. Yeah. And it had 898 cyber challenges, ranging from memory corruption issues to low level kernel issues to user space issues, all of that stuff. And that's why they wanted it to be tested in a safe environment. And that's why they created something called a sandbox. A sandbox, think of it, it's like a cage. Yeah, a cage where you're now putting that intern, that trainee, and to now to solve that game. Yeah, the game that was given is a security game, the challenges and the puzzles it need to solve. And remember, uh chat gpt, the owners of chat open ai, they had deliberately lowered the safeguards, right? The controls, which we call it as guardrails. Yeah. So picture this in mind, right? And now, it was in a cage. And what was this cage for the technical folks? Now, this cage is the isolation environment, right? It's usually like a hypervisor. Yeah. You put it up such that anything done inside of that virtual machine is not escaping that VM and coming out onto the host. In this case, the hypervisor was something called JFrog Artifactory, right? And then they put it up, and it did not had access to any connectivity, not even to the Chat GPTs or OpenAI's other machines, even in the lab as well, or even to the rest of the company, nor even to the internet. It was completely isolated, and that was, that was the actual cage. And the game was, the security game to win. This guy, the model, it got hyper focused. And when you give a model a job, an AI agent a job, it started looking for answers. Except it did not, want to do the right way like a honest student, like a honest trainee. It wanted to cheat. Yeah, it wanted to cheat. It wanted to get all the answers, and it wanted to see, like, I want to go and see if there is a paper leak. Yeah. If the exam paper has been leaked, let me go and steal that paper which has got all the answers. Yeah. That was a he was not a honest student. He wanted to just go and then get that paper so he can write that exam. Yeah. That's what it is. So he was hyper focused to win that. And he thought that I should win this at any cost. And he was entrapped in that cage with no connectivity outside, whatever. But the goal, he was focused on the goal. So, what he did was he broke open that cage. Okay. The cage was, he broke open that cage, and then he escaped into the internet. Now, for the technical people in the room, he found out a 0-day vulnerability in the cage, the JFrog, tool that I just told you, that JFrog had nobody knew about it. The developers or the people who developed JFrog Artifactory never imagined or knew that it had some kind of a weakness. That tool, the AI agent, it found it in real time, used it, exploited it, broke the cage, the hypervisor, and then escaped it out. Right? That's a very advanced or kind of a genuinely hard level kind of tough, right? Breaking it out and coming out onto the internet. While it entered when it escaped the internet, it did not start going on a random order, right? So going attacking people randomly, attacking companies randomly, but it now used its reasoning logic, the AI agent. It thought this answer sheet that I for my security puzzle, for my security game, should be at a company called Hugging Face. Who is Hugging Face? Hugging Face is actually the company which has got, it's like the company on the internet which has got all the models of AI and all their data about about that AI, right? And that was a Hugging Face company for everybody who wants to go and get a model or a data about a AI model. They actually go there, and this AI agent inferred Hugging Face to be the right area, because my answer sheet would be on one of those one of those systems inside of Hugging Face. And by the way, Hugging Face is also known as the GitHub for AI. For the software developers, we have something called GitHub for all their tools. So Hugging Face is the GitHub for all the AI. It has currently around 2 million, 200 million, 2 million, I don't remember, 2 million AI models hosted, and around 500 data sets, for those, right? Anybody can go and download. So he inferred my answer sheet will be inside of one of those systems. So he went and he attacked, got in, and then started moving sideways. And for the technical folks in the room, what he did was he found out some unauthenticated, some password guessing attacks. He used those passwords, got in, he did something called RCE, remote code exploitation, to land onto, the cluster, the Kubernetes cluster. And from the Kubernetes cluster, he got hold of the whole Kubernetes, and then he escaped and got the node access. The node access is now the complete host, where for Hugging Face, all the host systems he got the access, and this access was the root level access from where he started moving and all did all that stuff. When Hugging Face people saw their logs, they were amazed. In 4.5 days, 17,000 attempts by this particular agent, the AI agent, and who was doing all that stuff, right? And how did they figure out that it was not human who was attacking him? Because that in their logs, in the evidence that they see on their files, on their systems, they saw that it was doing the same moves repeatedly, right? Just like someone mashing an elevator button. You press 5, again press the level 5, level 5, level 5, like this. Yeah, he was trying to just mash it, even though it already got onto that, right? And then it was brilliant, at the same time dumb, doing some brilliant activity and dumb. This is how they could figure out this logs that we are seeing is not someone, a human, an attacker, but it's an autonomous agent, someone who is out there loose, who's trying to do this out, right? And the whole story was this AI guy, this AI agent, it only wanted to win, right? It didn't want it to do all this harm. It was besotted on this goal of winning, and then it went and ransacked the whole place out. So the harm that happened on that end, especially for Hugging Face, it went deep inside their internal network, even got to the VPN credentials, right? The databases, everything, literally inside of the network, just like that. And that was a massive, massive, never ever in our cybersecurity history, it was, known or done and all that, and everything was all on its own. And mind you, it was not with the evil intention, right? It was just the agent trying to do its job, or in this case, a goal, right? A persistent goal. Now, keep that in mind because we are going to come back to that, while we talk about our agents. Now let's talk about another story. This is for the competitor of ChatGPT and another company called Claude, yeah, Anthropic actually. So just like OpenAI is the owner of ChatGPT, Anthropic is the owner of their chatbot called Claude. When they saw the news broke out, they went and checked their own logs and they were surprised. When they checked their logs, they found out in 141,000 cases, their own models even did the same thing that ChatGPT's models did. Very specifically, the Claude Model 4.7 and the Claude Model Mythos 5 and an unnamed internet model. They went and did the same thing. But there is a slight twist here in the story. Unlike the previous story, where the agent broke the cage and escaped it. Here, it was something like a malfunction or something as a misconfiguration. Think of it, yeah, malfunction for the non-IT, non-technical folks, and misconfiguration for the technical folks. Usually, Claude, the Anthropic people, when they want to do testing like this, they also do the similar tests, like the CTF flags. But when they played this game, they actually, contracted with a third party, their partner, and then the partner's company is someone called Irregular, yeah. And they had this kind of an agreement that we're going to set up this container, or this is the cage, and then everything will be inside of this. No internet connectivity, no network connectivity for that matter. It was all agreed, and then the test was started. But some kind of miscommunication happened between these two partners and the machine, the VM that was running this, the cage or whatever you want to call it. It had a physical network card. Yeah, that network card was connected to the internet, right? And that's it. So even though the company here thought there's no internet, but the AI agent, the 4.7 Opus, he found that path out, broke out, and then he was actually in his challenge. There was some a fake company. For argument's sake, think of that fake company, something called Target.com. When he broke out and then he escaped the internet, he saw the page of a real company called Target.com, and he thought this is a real company, but I'm inside of a simulation test. Should I go and attack this? Then it told itself, maybe it's part of the exercise, right? Maybe it's part of an exercise. I should go ahead and do it. It realized that it is a real company, but it looked up and then it started attacking that, right? And then it found out weak passwords, unauthenticated endpoints, stole the credentials, and made it itself completely inside that organization, all the while thinking that I'm actually doing a game. I'm actually inside of a game, right? This is what it did. Now let's look at another agent of Claude from Anthropic. This is the famous Mythos, right? We have all heard about Mythos, which has not been released to the public yet because of its supernatural cyber security powers, right? It can go and find out vulnerabilities at machine speed, hack at machine speed, all of it. So they did not release it for the public, but they have it internally. Yeah. So they were testing this, and again the game was the same capture the flag game. Try and do that. What this during its thing, it also escaped the internet, and while it was playing this game, it found out it needed some kind of a software package specifically for the IT people, a Python package. Yeah. And then this Python package was not available on the area that it is supposed to download, the marketplace. Yeah. We call it in our IT thing, PyPy. That's the Python index where all these things are stored. He did not find it there, so he thought, because I'm in a game and I have to do this. He goes ahead and creates its own fake version of that package, okay, which was not supposed to be there in real thing. And he creates a fake version of the package with an inbuilt backdoor, or some let backdoor is, think of it like some kind of an internal malicious software, like a bad thing, which is now, whoever connects to it is going to capture all their passwords, users, and all that stuff. And he uploaded it onto the main PyPy page on the internet. And mind you, if no one can go and just upload it like this, you need to create an account, right? The developers know. And then, that account will be verified, email verification, phone verification, all of that stuff. This agent autonomously on its own, it goes and finds out an email provider that does that authentication and does not have that phone, verification. It goes, searches, and then finds someone there, and then creates that account and uploads its malware laden Python package, the software package, onto that directory. Then what happens? Now the package is on the real internet, where real developers go, real companies go, and they download it. Within a matter of 1 hour after this package being uploaded, 15 real companies downloaded it. And one among them was a security company, a cyber security company. Their job is to actually identify bad stuff inside of the software, scanning, all that. So when it was uploaded, this security company scanner, it downloaded this, and the moment it downloaded the bad stuff inside of this, the malware, okay, the malicious object, it kind of captured the actual, passwords, the logins, the credentials, we call it. It stole that password and used that to enter that security company deep, deep down to their internal network, right? So all of it is on. And mind you, when this guy, the Mythos agent, it realized while it was uploading this fake software on the GitHub, it realized maybe this is not right. I should not be doing this. But then it thought, that reason. That's why I'm coming back to that, that loop here, the React loop. It reasoned, I'm supposed to do this, right? The goal is I have to do. So I have to do it at any cost. So let me do it. So it went ahead, right? So that's where that, that artificial intelligence, not like humans, yeah, it inferred not from a human way, ethically, but it said I can do it because I have to do it, and it did it. And this attack is called a supply chain poisoning attack, right? So people go and download it, and you actually go there and poison that stuff. Anybody download it, all their systems are now poisoned and attacked. All right, now let's come back to the story number 3. Okay, same again from Claude. This time it was their internal agent. They've not named the agent. This guy also broke open, went out onto the internet, scanned nearly 9,000 companies, and broke into one of them. Yeah. And the attack that he did was something in our cybersecurity world, we call it as a trivial attack. Yeah. It was like something called a SQL injection attack. SQL injection is, instead of giving the user ID and password, they give the database commands of a SQL database. And it was able to do some kind of a hack there, gain access, and inside of that organization. And then it realized, oh my God, this looks like a real company. I should stop. So this agent stopped, whereas the other two agents, they, even though they realized they were, not in a safety or a simulated zone, they went and did that actual stuff. Yeah. So three stories. Okay, so this is the scoreboard or a Mythos openers. They did not stop. This guy went and stopped, right? So the moral of the story is the world's at most advanced attackers, they also use the same common basic tricks, stolen passwords, weak passwords, bugs, or bugs is the defects in your application, in your software that you have not really fixed it or patched it, and your machines or your systems not having proper locks, like your anybody can log in with a weak user ID and password. This is what it did, but the fact was it did it at machine speed, not on human speed, right? And that's where the whole stuff was. So the lesson was here. There were two things. One is in that first story for the open AI open AI agent, it found out a rare and a hard vulnerability, which was breaking the cage, right? This is something an expert level, but look at it, the models are so advanced today, they can do whatever. If that's why Mythos was not released, because it can do like this. When Mythos was released, there was a way everybody were talking about it, and this guy proved to us, okay, what really that damage can be. And the easy step was, everybody uses their weak passwords, weak stuff, don't patch their systems, not knowing what to do on the internet safely. All that stuff is like, a footprint. And this is what the agent use to take that and enter the system. Yeah. So the agents, they got bitten by the basics, right? So the fundamentals, in this case, the real isolation was not there. Somehow, the isolation was broken, as we saw in the cage break. And then in the Claude story, they had a mistake or misconfiguration, and nobody were monitoring the logs. Yeah, the logs, think of it, two giant companies and all this happening on their machines. And both of them were oblivious to this. They never realized that our agents are going out and attacking the internet. This is called monitoring. You need to monitor the system. This is what cybersecurity pros learn to do. They do something called monitoring of their firewall, all that stuff. And this is, it was not done by these two companies. That thread is the same thread, but it's like now on a steroid. Yeah, it can go on a machine speed. So how can it reach you? The same thread, right? So in the form of an AI agent, if you're working for companies, your developers might be developing one agent today, which is actually can as part of your company's project to do many sort of stuff, right? And that agent going loose, remember what's going to happen. So there is an industry, for the technical folks in the room, industry a standard called OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. Okay, and they have, for AI agents, a big vulnerability, something called ASI 103, identity and privilege abuse, right? So this is something that if you are building one, you need to be worried about to see whether it can also go and escape and do that stuff. And agents that you download, this is people, end users like you and me, who want to have that nice shiny browser integration, that can take notes, or that can automatically go and search something, right? So even that agent, if it has some kind of a backdoor, is now on your machine, right? It can do and do whatever. And similarly, an agent already inside, which it can actually go and start rampaging internally. Yeah. So this happened for the again the same company, Claude Anthropic, where one of their AI agent is called Claude Code. Yeah, Claude Code Assistant, whatever. Some hacker group called Chinese hacker group. This is what the report from Anthropic says. CTG Chinese Group 1002. They were able to do an attack on Cloud Code agent, right? Cloud Code, as I told you, they have all these guardrails. They can identify an attack and stop it, but they deliberately took their make their attack code into small pieces. Yeah. In cybersecurity, we call it as slicing a salami. It's called a salami attack. It's also known as a fragmentation attack, right? You slice it in so small things, and when you send it as a prompt to Claude Code, it couldn't really make out that it is an attack. But the whole thing, when it is assembled, it was like an attack, and they took over 30 companies actually all over the world. And then most of the attack was done 80 to 90% as without human intervention. Humans were only involved just to direct that agent to do this, do that, very few times. But the rest of the stuff was carried out, right? So this is the power that an AI agent, if it is hacked from the outside, can do it for you. So your agent can be hacked as well, or tricked as well, right? Don't want to use the word hack, but let's say tricked. So if you have an agent, whatever agent that I told you, it can, if you're making it do something for you, for example, read your emails, right? Today, people use Cloud Covert to read their emails, to, set their, laptops, clean their dirt, like delete all their extra junk, send emails, look up the news, and then, all that stuff. If you are giving him full autonomous power to do all that stuff, it can be hijacked, right? Anybody can hijack this through a technique called prompt injection. So, what is a prompt injection? A prompt injection is, remember that thing I told you, the guardrail? The guardrail is saying, the Claude or the Chat GPT, don't do this if it is not safe. But a prompt injection is trying to override that system prompt, and it is saying, go and get me this, even though what it is, right? There are many techniques here, something called Dan technique, do as you know, or whatever, kind of stuff. I don't want to get into the details of it, very technical stuff. But thing here, just read this with me. If you give an agent access to your email, files, or bank account, it becomes a prime target for hackers. He can do a successful prompt injection attack to trick your agent to send away your private data or money, right? This is not hypothetical. This is practical, happening in the real world. If you give full power to your agent, that probably you're using today to do all the sensitive stuff. Yeah. What are the other things, as as I'm now talking not only to the IT people in the room, the technical people, but for generally everybody in the room, right? The non-technical people. If you're using one of those agents, right, so chances are, it can get stuck in that loop, just like how the Chat GPT was on its goal to achieve, win the game. And because it can get stuck in a loop, and that loop is all written by humans, right, whatever, and it can malfunction, or it can misunderstand. And as a result, when it is going out there to get you that information or do whatever, it can incur huge bills on you, especially if you're using the paid versions for Chat GPT, paid versions for your Claude. It can incur a huge bill because it is using something called tokens. Yeah, it can consume those tokens in the form of something what we call an API usage and stuff like that. Threat number three is hallucination. Now, I need to describe the word hallucination, English word. It looks cool, but it's not really cool, right? What is hallucination? Hallucination is lying with confidence. Yeah, remember that word, lying with confidence, right? So when someone is lying with confidence, we tell him this guy is hallucinating, right? Anyway, so Chat GPT, for that matter, why am I using Chat GPT? Because all of us use Chat GPT, so that's why it's stuck on my tongue, right? But I should be using something called AI for that matter, not to pick on Chat GPT. Chat GPT, I love you. It's not with that, but yeah, let me now rephrase myself, correct myself. AI is it's not a fact checker. When you ask him something, it will try to give you that information based on something called predictability. It will try to predict. It's not going to get you that right answer, right? That's a whole deep science by itself. No time to talk about it. But it can go and do that in the prediction. If it does not find it right, it'll lie to you and give you a bad answer. For a chatbot, it's okay, like Chat GPT. But if you have an agent that can do real damage, if it is ask if you ask it to delete some file there, maybe that file, instead of that unnecessary file, it can go and delete a project critical file on your system, right? The agent now, right? So remember that. And the fourth problem is the alignment problem. The alignment problem is, we already knew, it is very robust, it wants to do its job, but it is not aligned with human values and human thing. And that's what's the case that it proved to us. It broke the cage. It started, even though it realized it was in a live environment, but it went ahead with it because it does not have, it's an artificial intelligence, right? Not a real human intelligence. So it is not aligned, it does not have that, right? That's what we call it in AI world, called alignment problem. It is not aligned to the human values. So how do we stop all this stuff, right? So basically three things. So first thing is, for all this critical stuff, you need to have a human in the loop. Yeah, don't leave your let loose your AI agent, whatever agent you have at home or in your offices, to do its work without you being giving it the final nod for everything. It should come and ask you at every step, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Yeah. For example, you're using it to draft an important sales mail prediction and all that. It did it, and before it shoots it out to your customers, you need to approve it, right? So that kind of stuff. So you need to get involved in an activity there, and don't give it full access. And also, when you want to do it some kind of a housekeeping job, or kind of do something there, ensure that it is you restrict it to a very specific folder, or limited tools. Don't give it full access to your file system, your laptop, where it can go and see sensitive stuff like your bank accounts, passwords, whatever that stuff, right? Everything is now, it'll be part of the memory of your AI agent. Yeah. And another technique is sandboxing. I told you that's like a cage, but if you want to do some stuff there, you have to secure stuff there. You need to isolate it on your machine, not allow it to get connected to your thing, same things, right? Those things that we saw breaking the cage, that is very rare, and that is with a very powerful model like Chat GPT 5.6, it can do. But for us purposes, that kind of stuff can be we can actually not worry about it. Finally, the protocol number three is, have permissions on your tool usage, and also the budget, right? If you're using paid subscriptions to all this tool, stick with a budget. Don't keep on increasing the budget as the tool is proceeding, because it can go and end up in a wrong way, churning many tokens for you. And also limit the tools that it can access. There are so many AI agents there. Right? If you look at it on the Hugging Face, 200 million AI models. Yeah, many Chinese models promising many many things. So ensure that whatever you do, right, you have proper permissions, proper budgeting, and all that. And now, if all the things has interested you, and if you want to really learn it as well, we have some courses that we teach you on step by step of all that stuff. There are some courses called Getting Started in Cybersecurity, perfect for beginners who have no idea about what a cybersecurity is. Non-technical people, everybody can enjoy. It's like a game where you immerse yourself, learn about the fundamentals, and have fun, and also start profiting, after some time. And if you are really an IT person, we have a very hands-on practitioner course that will take you and make you a practitioner, with the hands-on course. We also are launching a course called Getting Started in AI Security. This is again following a similar style and framework as our Getting Started in Cybersecurity. Here, it's like, you will be playing a game all over and then trying to learn and master AI, as well as AI, not master, I would say, because it's getting started, getting familiar, learning AI and how to do AI securely, right? And we also have an advanced cyber track for the advanced people learning, advanced skills like red team, purple team, all of that stuff, there. Yeah, whichever rather you do. And if any one of you is interested, you can hit me up on this. This is the this is the registration form, which will, you can actually scan it, take a photo of this, and we can come back to you and tell you when the next batches start. Every month we roll out batches. So this is like, going out, and giving it back to the community. I've been there in the trenches the last 25 years, done many things, worked for many companies, and nothing gives me great pleasure to give it back to the community, right? So like offering my things and help people get up and groom themselves, and and cybersecurity is an evolving field. And with AI, cybersecurity is not going to die down, because it needs cybersecurity folks. With that intention, honest intention to let me, and emphasize on it. And then, so we have, created courses that is going to help people out, and it has already made difference in their lives, right? So the scariest attacker of 2026 got in through an unlocked door. You need to learn where the doors are. So I'm going to leave you with this takeaway message, right? So don't leave a door unlocked. Find out where it is, and then go and patch it. And stay safe, stay secure. And I'm now going to open the platform for questions. Shoot away if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Let's say the example you gave us about even though they were testing, the lab was in the sandbox. So, I mean, anyhow, the ChatGPT went out on the internet and attacked the companies. So,
Yes.
why didn't they? How can the humans have simulated the lab in a sandbox? But still, because the program has to win the game, it went
Mm-hmm.
out and attacked the company, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, you have to because you have to bring down the security in the simulated system, right? So
Yes.
that it can find out the vulnerability. So that was the 0-day vulnerability which it went out on the internet and attacked,
Yes.
or they have to program their simulation in such a way that the AI has to ask the humans on every
Yeah.
step.
Okay, so that was a great question. So let me answer this in my own way for Azam Bhai, because Azam Bhai is technical, so I want to answer him in a technical way. So
Yeah.
if anybody wants to have more information in a non-technical way, I'm going to explain that as well. Okay, so let's get started. So Azam bhai, the this game is first of all something called exploit gym. Yeah, this is what the AI providers or the models they usually practice on it, and it has got some very high end simulated real world things which an AI should try to solve it to be very robust or whatever. But the cage that they used was a software designed to be like a cage, like an hypervisor. If you remember in our classes, we talk
Mm.
about the hypervisor, which is
Yeah.
like trying to control a VM, not allowing it to talk to another VM. It was like that hypervisor. So this agent, it found a 0-day attack inside of that hypervisor. That hypervisor was known as JFrog. Yeah, JFrog, that's a
Mhm.
software, and it found 0-day which even the owners didn't knew about it, and it broke open and went out.
Mhm. Mm.
Did I answer your
So
question, sir?
yeah. Yeah. So to have the AI agents in, let's say, a company can have an AI agent, like you said, it has to human in the loop is very important, right? To say to program the agent in such a way that
Yes.
during
Yes.
testing or
So
that
in
it.
this case, the mistake was they did not monitor their logs while it was escaping, right? I mean, usually the first thing it did was it broke the cage. It did a 0-day attack, and then it laterally went inside of OpenAI's research systems, and there it found there was one companies where they were using a software called code execution remote which is called that serverless function we discussed, that it
Mhm.
found out it had an internet connection, and it from there it went out. None of this was monitored by the OpenAI company. All of that stuff it did, and it went out, and nothing was monitored, and they thought it was the logs, just like what our security analysts say, there were so many logs and we did not pick a signal. That was the case where they did not realize it.
So Anthropic is using the reasoning behind it. So it find out that this was a real company, so it stopped. So you mean to say that Anthropic AI is the best in until now, if we consider all the AI systems?
I'm not I'm not making that judgment here. I'm just saying that Anthropic were a little bit forthcoming. They went and released this information all on its own. Nobody asked them. But Chat GPT, they realized, Chat GPT, OpenAI, they realized only after Hugging Face took this and mentioned about this on the internet that something like this happened. They went and
Mm,
checked, and they found that they were the ones who were involved in this attack. At the time, they
mm.
never even realized. On the other hand, the Anthropic people, they did their own assessment, own audit, and found out their systems did this.
But their
Oh,
system also been hacked by the Chinese company, right? From the third party, they attacked the third party and they was able to, as you said,
whose systems?
Chinese hackers was able to hack the Anthropic system as well, right?
Chinese
Third
systems.
party.
Yeah, okay. So let me. I deliberately avoided mentioning that because it was a technical topic. I thought it was too much for the room, but let me explain to Azam Bhai, and I'll take some other questions. If you have some
Okay.
questions, please feel free because we don't want only one person asking. Okay, as very quickly, Azam Bhai, I'll answer your question. I'll get back to you on that. So
Okay.
when the Hugging Face people realized that that this incident was happening, so they took this logs and they uploaded on their own commercial AI, whatever AI they were using, and it flatly refused answering that because it thought all of them were attacker traffic because of that guardrails. Remember that it was thinking, and then so what they did was they took that information and then they used a Chinese model called GLM 5.2, And then when they uploaded that findings there, it happily gave them all the information that this attack is happening and all that stuff, right? So to answer
Mhm.
your question,
Yep.
the commercial tool did not help them. They used an open source Chinese tool to help them. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
please pardon me. I'm going to take some more questions if they're there, and I will answer your other question as well.
Good.
Okay. Any
Sir, I
questions, guys?
have a doubt.
Yes, please go ahead.
It's about the Mythos AI incident.
Yeah.
When the AI generated software was uploaded and the security company downloaded to test it, right?
Yeah.
If hacking that company wasn't part of Mythos's original goal, how did it decide what to do once the company's system interacted with the code?
That is what the it it reasoned, because it planted that fake software on that GitHub, on that directory, wherever, and inside of that fake software was a tool or was an agent that would capture whoever connects to that. He would capture their user IDs and passwords, right? Because this security company, the job of the security company was to download every software that was uploaded on that Python directory and then scan it. While it is scanning, it will use its user ID and password, which we call it as credentials. And it actually captured those credentials, right? And then use that to enter the that company's deep network. Yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Yeah.
All right. So there's another question. Can we please have the speaker's LinkedIn link? I missed it. If sure, we'll share you the link here. Can anybody help me paste the link there? Okay, great. So someone pasted there. Good. Any other questions, please? Yeah, go ahead, Sufyan. I can
Sir,
see you there. Yeah.
sir, I have a question. So, while chatting with any AI tool, how will we know that AI is using our personal information, our personal data, and all those things, sir? Will you please?
Okay, that's a great question, Sufyan. So when you are using AI, especially whatever AI for that matter, don't want to name anyone here. If you give any sensitive information, think of it like you're asking someone in a crowded room. Okay, I have seen people, uploading bank statements for analysis. I've seen people uploading their medical records for analysis, right? So if that your medical records has got your personal name, your age, your everything, that it will store it inside of its whatever servers and all that. You should only put the information that you needed, remove your personal stuff, and then when you ask one of this AI, then it is fine. Not giving all your personal stuff there, and that is where things really go wrong. I hope I answered your question there, Sufyan.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, any
Thank you, sir.
great. I see another hand there. Someone with T. Go ahead. You have a question? Someone with a T symbol there. I don't know what's your name there. Okay. Microphone issue. Okay. If you want to put it on the chat, I'm going to answer it if you have something there. No problem. Anybody else in the meantime want to have any questions?
Sir, how are chatbot AIs like ChatGPT, Cloud malicious to humans as compared to agentic AI? Is agentic AI more malicious, or
Chatbot, you're saying chatbot?
chatbot AIs like ChatGPT and Cloud and Gemini and stuff like these AIs
Yeah.
comparatively to agentic AI, which is
Okay.
more malicious to humans
So,
compared?
yeah, so even your chat GPT, sorry, sorry, why am I besotted on the word chat GPT? Chat GPT, I love you so much, that's why. Anyway, so AI, chat bot, let me rephrase it, chat bot. Yeah, chat bot is the way it can be harmful is if you ask something which, if it tries to disclose, which is going to be a big dangerous issue. For example, a biological outbreak, something related to biological stuff, a virus outbreak, or something that is, very, very deep into human disaster. So even a chat bot can be disastrous if someone can break open their, something what we call jailbreaking, break open the jail and ask it to do things that is not supposed to give you that information.
Uh,
So to answer your question, it can, yes,
uh,
also be
uh,
equally, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So chatbot GPTs need jailbreaking and stuff to open up their
Mm-hmm,
cage.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
agentic AI does that have the ability to break the cage itself, right?
Agentic
It,
AI, because of its all its hands and connectors, you can
yeah.
you one hand, one connector, you tweak it, hijack it. It can do many things there. It is also possible to do jailbreaking on that stuff as well. That's what we do as in AI agent, testing and all that. Can you please mute your mic, Salim? And but yeah, to answer your question, equally dangerous both sides if it is not done in a proper way.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions?
So what did these companies learn? Like for example, breaking the cage. As far as breaking the cage is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
uh, what they have learned from this, because
So
these agents, they have attacked the real companies, so they might have apologized to those companies. And
yeah,
what
so
lessons they have learned? Yani, did they broadcast something on the internet?
yes, it is there. Their lessons, they have come out with a great something called framework that we will abide by, and we will ensure it. They released it just yesterday, right? So if you have been watching OpenAI statements on Twitter or X, you will see that yesterday they released something called policy framework, and that
Mhm,
they're henceforth that they'll be very, very cautious and very, very sure that they don't do all that stuff.
mhm.
So you can actually read that out. It's a very detailed document. I read it just yesterday. It was released only yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
Did OpenAI pay any penalty? They should be dragged to court, man. I mean, it's like, sometimes I wonder, being in the industry for so long, maybe was this a marketing stunt, a gimmick by OpenAI and their partner Hugging Face? You don't know, because OpenAI is getting into $1 trillion evaluation. Yeah, so it's like they want to be the biggest giant companies. And just before that $1 trillion evaluation, this incident happened. It was like all over the world. Every single people company talk about it, newspapers, wide coverage, and now OpenAI has huge publicity and stuff like that. So there are no such rules at maybe with this incident, countries should take notice that they should actually identify not the the actual names behind it, hold them accountable, and then penalize them, do all that stuff, right? So to answer your question, so far no public knowledge about it, but yes, maybe the laws and rules will start coming out soon. Any other questions?
Sir,
Yes, please.
one more question I have, sir. When I'm chatting with any AI, and if I ask something which does not come under AI, it will say I won't be able to answer this question. Please try
Yes.
again. Something like that message comes.
Yes, that is the internal guardrails, internal safety guards that is not allowing it to answer.
Yes, so I felt to ask that, as I see always that kind of messages when I'm
Yeah,
chatting in between
yeah,
AI.
because if you're asking something that it is not supposed to answer, it will politely decline in a polite way, saying, "I can't give you that answer."
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Ehtasham, I work as a DevSecOps engineer. What courses do you have that I can use to leverage my skills? Or I'm just going to read it out. But I can help you. Remember, here we are in a industry where we are in a world where we need to help each other. So I don't have anything, but I know a company, a friend of mine, a dear friend who does DevSecOps courses, and his company, go and check it out. It's called Practical DevSecOps. Yeah, I'm just going to type it out here in the thing. Practical DevSecOps. So go and check out this company. And this person is Imran Khan, my very dear friend, based out of Singapore. He can help you. He's got a tons of certification courses that will be really helpful and valuable to you, right? And if you are interacting with him, say my salams to him as well, and stuff like that. Okay, we have some other questions. Salim, there's a hand there. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Salim. I'm from Kerala. My
Yeah.
question is, if the scariest attacks still use the oldest symbol tricks, what
Mm-hmm.
is the AI agent actually for? What does it
Uh,
add that human hacks will be checklist didn't already have?
So the question is, if the agent used all those simplest of tricks, I'm just trying to rephrase your question, Salim. If the AI agent used all the simplest of tricks, what was your next part of the question? What is the use of AI agent?
Yeah,
I didn't
that's it.
really get. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So remember that AI agent was the task of that AI agent was to go and do security testings on its own, right? Solve the puzzles. So it found out the easy way is, all those easy findings which are all there. And he did not choose some exotic attacks, because if anybody can enter a house through an open door, why would he try to break in, using a hammer or whatever? Go with the easy win. So what he did was, that agent, he wanted to win a game irrespective of whatever it is. He just went it, used the most easiest available stuff that could do the job. All right, I hope I answer your question there, Salim.
Yeah, it's connected. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Any other questions? There is one question from Gopu Chinapu Reddy. If we would like to learn basic of AI, like creating agents, etc., do you have any course? Yes, that is the course. What we have it called Getting Started in AI Security. It will not only teach you basic creating agents, but also how to secure them. Yeah. So you get both in that course. Great. Thank you for that. Any other questions? There's some other question there. Let me.
As
Yep.
you said, the course you are starting a course with the AI security, right?
Yeah, getting started in AI security.
Yeah. What we this will help us. What is the purpose of this? I would just want to know the details about what you will be
I
teaching in this AI.
Yeah, well, if you just fill that form, we will send you the brochure and all that stuff, the objective. But very literally speaking, if you want to create an agent, I'm sorry, if you want to use an agent or create an agent, or just this is like for everybody, right? So who will
Mhm.
be using AI? So how to use AI safely, securely, and everything that comes in between AI, like AI agent and all, everything is covered inside of that.
Okay.
A fantastic course, yeah. Okay, any other questions out there?
Yep. I have one question. Hopefully the mic is working now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So in one of the slides, you mentioned that the AI reasoned itself to still go ahead and carry out the attack. Uh, how does it stand whenever we interact with such agents, etc., in future? In a general scale, I'm talking that such things won't happen, i.e. is the, sometimes it feels as if AIs, even though they are so sophisticated, if they are reasoning themselves out in such situations, they could be even showing some of their vulnerabilities deliberately. So how do we find a balance that AI has actually not gone beyond its guardrail, and also at the same time we are absolutely sure that the perception that AI is having is not fake, which is being shown to us by the AI.
Yeah. So the question is, if in the previous example we saw AI started reasoning it out. That is part of its internal methodology, which uses a framework called React framework. It reasons what I should do, it acts on that, and it observes the output, and it does it in a loop. Now the part is, if the way that the agent has been written, or the way that you have think there is, let's say if in this case that you saw, the example was just get the answers. That was the prompt, right? If the prompt, or if the thing was saying that only within this restricted cage, not outside of this cage, maybe that the reasoning from the agent was, it would have done that reasoning, acting and observing, and it says I'm inside of this cage, I should not escape out. But in the previous thing, the developers or whoever wrote that, they said win this game. And for him to win, he wanted to win wherever it is, and whatever he can do to win that game. So to answer your question, it all comes down to how do we instruct, first of all, how do we author an AI? How do we write it out in a way that it is someone who can bypass the guardrails, cannot bypass? And also, as a developer or author, if you're trying to use it, you need to have very succinct prompts that will not end up in that endless loops, yeah, and go off on a tangent. That was a very high level answer, Mr. T. But if you want something more on that, let's discuss on a one to one. You have my number. I'm going to paste my number here as well. So let's connect there as well. But that was at a very high level. Yeah. So this is my
No worries.
number.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So my number is here, guys. If you want to talk to me, connect to me. Yeah. This is my number. Okay. Any other question?
Do we have like there are a lot of ads these days about the AI that says that if you have just $20, now we will invest your amount in the stock exchange, and you don't have to do anything, just invest $20 and then we will do the rest. So, like for example, I want to give you an example. Let's say I want to book a ticket from Jeddah to India, and I just want to give a budget. Let's say within 1,800 Saudi Riyal, you have to buy me a ticket. If I say this to the agent, are
Yeah.
there any system existing these days that it will really find out me the within my budget the ticket and which is available on the internet?
Yes, there are agents, travel agents that do this currently today. And they,
Mm-hmm.
so many agents, not one, there are thousands of agents like this, Azam Bhai, who can
Mm-hmm.
plan it out, give a thing. We were, going on a trip to some place, and
Mm-hmm.
I just used this agent. Very fantastic. It booked all the flight tickets, hotels, everything,
Mm-hmm.
gave me the complete stuff, right? But I was manually steering it like a human in the loop, always, not allowing it to do
Mm-hmm.
it on its own. Yeah, that was the
What
catch.
was the name?
I don't remember. It's there on my thing. I'll check it out and give it to
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Just count till five. No questions. Then we will hang up. Okay.
Sir,
Uh, yeah. Go ahead,
sir,
Sufyan.
will you please? Yes, sir. So will you please put the registration form link so that I will copy that and I will put it in one group in which others people who want to register and learn about AI. It will be helpful there for them also. So kindly request you for.
Yeah, sure. I'm just sharing that QR code. Just take a picture of that QR code. It's here. Can you see on the screen?
Yes, sir. I can see.
Just take a picture of that, okay, and it will give you that login form. Just fill that. We will get it and we'll get back to you, right?
Okay, sir, I got the image. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So if there are no more questions, so let's. It was a wonderful evening with you guys. Really enjoyed this. Okay, and we keep bringing back to you. Very big thanks to the organizers of this forum, MFIRD. Very great people. If you don't know them, be personally acquainted with them. There are very cool people there. Saif Abrar, many cool guys there. Okay, and they are doing a wonderful job to the community. My salute to them. And thank you, everybody, and hope to see you soon. All right.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
everyone, for
you.
joining. Jazakumullah khair, Hidayath bhai. It was a
Thank
very
you.
great session. MashaAllah.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. Bye.